Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will discuss about the behavior characteristic of the behavior definition. We start with the persistent table, then we will go with the authorizations, logs, ETags and other behavior characteristic as well. Not only we talk about the behavior characteristic, in last video we have created the application but we were not able to see the data in the database tables. So we'll try to figure out what happened. We'll do the mapping also and we will perform today create, update and delete operations successfully. Let's get started. We will start with our first behavior characteristic called persistent table. As I told you in one of the other last video, persistent table where we are gonna save our data. We already defined in our case the persistent table for each entity. We have three entities, travel, booking and booking supplement. For each entity we have defined the persistent table, which is our base table, why travel taken and why booking taken, why booking supplement taken. So I changed the naming convention in my last video. Instead of Y I am using Z because my trial account got expired. So I created the new account and I did the naming convention check. Instead of Z I am using Y. That's only the change I told you in last video also. This persistent table whenever we use, so some of the things we have to make sure in the manage scenario. If we talk about the manage scenario, in the manage scenario this persistent table is the mandatory. We have to give the mandatorily this persistent table because how system know where whatever you are doing, creating, updating and deleting, where needs to be updated, deleted or created. So for that those tables we have to give, then only our framework will save our data in these tables and we can read the data from this particular tables. So that is the persistent table. These are the database tables. In many scenario, one exception is there where whenever we are implementing unmanaged save, in many scenario also whenever we are saving the data, we can tell the system no need to save in these tables, or we don't want to save this data in tables, we do it differently. For example, I want to use some BAPI to update this data in the system, or I want to use some function module, or I directly want to update it in some other way this tables data. This unmanaged save we can use and we can update the data in many scenario also. Unmanaged save, this is called the unmanaged save. In that case also we no need to give the persistent table. This is the exception for the managed scenario. We will discuss more about the unmanaged save in my future videos. One more thing, the projection view. We will create the, on top of this base behavior we have already created the projection view. There we didn't give any persistent table. It will be automatically derived from our base view, so base behavior definition. So we no need to give in our projection behavior definition any particular tables, that will be done from the base view. Next thing, if you are defining any ETag field, ETag fields are used to do the concurrency control. We will discuss about the ETag in my next slide. But if you are defining any ETag field, it will be updated by framework automatically if you will use this particular annotation for your ETag field, and you have to define particular ETag field in your CDS entity. In the every CDS entity you have to define the ETag field. This field I will gonna use for the ETag handling. How we will tell the system by giving these annotations. That also we will do in this video. We'll give one ETag field for our application. What is ETag field, and that we will discuss in next slide. One more important thing, the numbering thing. We have created our application and we are displaying the travel IDs. You can see travel ID 1, 2, 3, that is primary key. Suppose I have already created one travel ID using the primary key 1, 2, 3, 4. And in my next video I started again creating 1, 2, 3, 4. How I will know, or some other user try to create with the same travel ID, then it will not able to create. Obviously system will say this entry is already existing. So to handle these scenarios, so for travel ID we have to handle the numbering. So this travel ID we should give automatically, should be given by the system, instead of user should enter this particular travel ID. To do that we will use the numbering system. There are two ways are there. one way we will manage our numbering ourselves, and this is called the managed numbering. This we will gonna do for this application, but some of the other things, some of the other application we will do the unmanaged numbering also, where the system will handle our numbering. This or framework will handle automatically. For that, the requirement is that in that case you want that your numbering should be handled by the system, then that numbering field or your should be primary key field, or in that case that should be type of row 16. We will call UUID row 16, that should be type, and that should be available in your each entity. That is the table field. Again, that is the reason I want to include in this persistent table. So that scenario we'll discuss again in another applications, but your first field should be UUID, and that will be handled automatically. Framework will update that particular field automatically whenever you create the new instance or update and delete the new instance. So that will be handled by the framework. But in this scenario, we will do the managed numbering instead of the unmanaged numbering. The last but most important thing, you have persistent table, or we can say database table, white table Techem, you have created on top of that CDS entity, and you have renamed or your all the objects or your all the fields. Now how framework know which field should be updated in which field of the table, which field of the CDS entity should update which field of the table. If table names are different, we can use the corresponding, but in this case we will have to do the mapping because we have changed the name. I will show you in the system also. I think that's enough about theory at this point of time. We will come to again theory, but we will do these all the things in the system and we will come back. As you know from my previous video, we have created the three base table. On top of three base tables, we have created the interface view and consumption view, metadata extensions, service definitions, service binding, and the behavior definition. For the base view, this is the behavior definitions, and you already know this base behavior definitions, we have already declared the persistent table. It is automatically generated by our framework, this particular, not framework, our wizard. It is automatically generated this particular code, and that they have defined already the persistent table. They know this particular CDS entity came from particular this table, so they have already given this persistent table as a white table taken for this particular entity, and booking for booking, and we have booking supplement table for the booking supplement entity. Before going further, let's jump into the system, and not system we are already there. Let's jump into our application and see till now how our applications look like. So let's open our YC travel Techem and do the preview, and click on go button. You can see the applications. In my last applications, in my last video, we have created this particular entry where, and 11223 we tried to create one travel ID. We were not able to do because the mapping was not available. Let me delete this particular entity, and we will do the mapping today, and we'll try to create. So let's first do the mapping. First you can delete, anyway delete will work here, there is no issue. We'll delete that particular entry. Anyway, this entry is not available in our backend, so we'll get the dump in backend, but front end I can see it got deleted. And since we didn't do the mapping, it did neither created on the database level or nor it is deleted as well. So it deleted from the application only. So now we will do the mapping. For the mapping, I already created the code snippet. If you see here, let me bring here this thing, go a little bit up. Let me control C. I do very rarely copy paste, but it will take time to this much code to write. Simply I will explain. There is nothing much here. What we did, simply created for the mapping for the table. So as I told you, our persistent table is this particular white table Techem, and our CDS entity is this particular y underscore travel Techem. If you see the structure of both the tables and our CDS entity which I have created, both are different. How it is different? In our table, we define field name as agency underscore ID, customer underscore ID, but in our CDS entity, we rename them travel ID and the agency ID. We remove the underscore and use the camel case. So that is the reason the field name is different. So we have to do the mapping. Otherwise, you can use the corresponding fields. Then that one line is enough. But in this case, we have to do the mapping. So you can use mapping for this one corresponding this particular table. The corresponding you can use, then it will work. But in this case, we have to define for this particular CDS entity field should be this particular travel ID table field. So the CDS entity is this one. In the CDS entity, we define as a travel ID, and in the table we have the field as a travel underscore ID. You can see here as well. So that is the reason we did the mapping and telling the system whenever you create the data in the system, these are the corresponding fields in this particular table for this particular CDS entity fields. So we defined for the travel. The same thing we will do for the booking. Let me do Control C. Not much things needs to done, and Control V. And same way we have to do for the booking supplement as well. See, nothing much is there, so that is the reason I just pasted. I would have created one by one all the fields, but it will take time. Let me do Control F3 and see, you should not get any error. We're not getting any error. It got activated successfully. I can see the status as well. Let me do one more time. Control F3. Active. Object is generated. Let me go to my application and now create this particular travel instance and see in the database tables it got updated or not. So let me come to my application here. Click on Go button again to get the latest data. Let me create new travel ID. Anyway, I 5002 let me give. I starting the 5000 series for my reference. I can give start date from today itself. Some price you can give $200 USD, and value helps are coming. Agency ID you can give any agency ID, and date it should be valid till 31st or 1st and 1st Feb. Test travel I can give. Description, customer ID, anything you can give. Booking fee you can give anything, $200 USD, and status is open. And let me click on create button. It created. Last time it didn't create it in the database because we didn't do the mapping. This time we do the mapping, it should create at the database level as well. To see that, let me come back one step back and click on Go button. This particular 5002 should be available. Let me sort descending order. You can see 5002 is available. But 5002, is this available in our table? Let's go to the table and see. Let me come to the table. I underscore travel taken. We didn't create any booking and booking supplement for this particular travel instance, so it's not available. Let me go there. Why travel taken table? Let me do F8. Again, I will do descending order. You can see 5002 got created, which just now we have created. So this is how it is created successfully, and since we do the mapping, now it is creating successfully the table entries as well. You can delete also. Let me come here. Let me select 5001 and delete, and click on delete button. Click on go. Now it got deleted from here. Let me come to table and refresh my table. There is a refresh button is there. You can see 5001 gone. So this is how now everything is working. If I want to change something, that also I can do. Let me go to 5002. Click on edit button. Change the description. Test travel RAM. So you can see I'm getting the dumps. There is some metadata case on hub system. There is some issue in the cache. You can check it out. You have to in real time. You should not get any backend errors, but we will fix slowly all the errors also. But as of now, for the demonstration purpose, you can see test travel RAM, and let me click on save button. and come to my preview again. You can see currently test travel. Let me refresh it, and it got changed test travel run. So everything is working for the travel ID. We will check for the booking also. Like for this travel, let me create the booking. Booking number 1 I can give, airline ID, let me give some airline ID. Flight price, again I will give some 100. Booking date, let me give 22. Flight number I have to give. I don't have any flight number help. Let me give 123. Booking status new. Customer ID I can give this one. Flight date, I think these some of the values, this all the values automatically populate based on your instance which you have created, but now currently it is not populating. That will happen in next upcoming videos. A lot of pending things still we have to do. Let me click on create and see it is creating or giving some error. Object was created, booking is created successfully. Let me come one step back. Can I see one booking here? Yeah. Let me go to booking table and see. Can I see for this particular 5002 one booking or not? Let me come back one step back. White travel booking. I hope so. It should be created. Let's see it create or not. We do descending order. 5002. You can see one booking is created successfully and all the time. In the same way, you can create the booking supplement also, and you can edit also and delete also if you want. But this application is not full-fledged at all. I don't have ETag, I don't have numbering. Somebody try to create with 5002 again, or I also create with the 5002 again, then system will not create, and the application is not consistent. There is no authorization check, there is no ETags. Concurrency control is there if multiple user is creating simultaneously. And if you see the most of the fields we have to type, enter, and price also calculate. Whatever the price I want to give, that I'm giving, price also should be calculated obviously without any interventions. And a lot of fields are we have to set as a read only. Those all things still pending, but overall we created the basic applications. Not we have to do a lot of things here. We will do one by one. So first we will start with the ETag. ETags in the RAP. ETag field for optimistic concurrency control. What is concurrency control? What is optimistic concurrency control? What is pessimistic concurrency control? I have explained in detail this particular thing in my OData video series. I don't want to repeat that, but I will give you one link in the description and I button is as well. You can watch it out, or you can come to my channel and you can go to direct playlist and you can go to the my OData playlist, and 22nd video of this particular part, 22nd part of this particular video series, you can see ETag and concurrency control. In that video I have explained in detail each and everything, like that what is concurrency control, why we have to use the concurrency control, what is pessimistic concurrency control, what is optimistic concurrency control. These all things we have explained in detail. But in short, what we can say, what is the ETag? ETag is a field which will be modified each time whenever we will modify that particular entry. So when some concurrent users, we can say two users, accessing the same entry or updating the same entry, that time what we will do, before updating the entry, what he will do, he will read that particular entry and see that particular ETag field is updated by other guy or not. If it is not updated by other guy, means nobody changed. What he will do, he update that ETag field and then do the commit to the database. In meanwhile, some other guy also editing that particular same entry and try to update the database table. Before doing that, he will check that ETag field, what he read, it is same or not. If it is code changed already, then he will get the current data then again do the editing and then update. I know this is a little bit difficult, but if you see that video, I explain in detail what is ETag, what is concurrency control, what is optimistic and pessimistic concurrency control. Little bit about the optimistic concurrency control. In that, what we are thinking that in SAP we already using the pessimistic concurrency control. We are using the logs, NQ and DQ function module, that is pessimistic concurrency control. What they mean by the pessimistic concurrency control, that we are thinking that when I am doing the changes, lot of other guys also doing the changes. I don't want to do those changes. What I will do, I log first that particular entry, so nobody able to edit that particular entry. Then I do my changes, and after doing my changes, I unlock that entry. That is called the pessimistic and concurrency control. But the ETag, when we use, that is the optimistic concurrency control. In that way, what I am thinking that whenever I am editing that particular entry, no, the others guys are not editing. Like that I'm thinking, and I'm doing my edit. I'm reading that particular entry and I'm doing my changes. But before saving my changes, I'm just confirming that somebody else changed or not. If somebody else changed, then I get the latest entry and update my things back. Like that we are doing. That we will do all things using this ETag field. ETag field will be modified each time you will modify that particular entry. Even you change single field in that particular entry, then you have to modify that ETag field, so other users, they will get to know somebody modified in between when I was making my changes. Still you are not getting, just watch out that video. I'm definitely sure I explained in detail, you will get to know. But in respect to the RAP scenarios, also we use the ETag for the optimistic concurrency control. In the RAP, we will use the optimistic concurrency control also and pessimistic concurrency control also. In form of ETag, we will use the optimistic concurrency control. In form of lock master and lock dependent, we will use the pessimistic concurrency control. So more about the ETag, any changes, as I told you, any changes we do in the particular entry or table entry, then we will update the ETag field so other users will get to know. In an entity, ETag master entity has own ETag field. So for that, we have to define in particular entity, we have to tell this is the field we are using as a ETag field. The ETag field, most of the time, this is the timestamp field, because each time when we are making the changes, the timestamp will get changed. So that is the reason we will easily get to know somebody got changed something in this particular entry. So ETag field is the timestamp field, and whenever we are defining the ETag field, we have to make sure that how we will gonna tell this is the particular ETag field. This is the particular annotation is there, semantic annotation is there, system date time, local instance last change at equal to true. Whenever we are telling this particular field in the CDS entry, this annotation, then that particular field we can use as a ETag, and system will automatically update in many scenario. System will automatically update that particular field whenever you are making any changes in particular entry of that particular CDS entity. One more important thing, if you are making some other changes, for example in accepting that particular scenario, rejecting something, some other changes you are doing, then you have to make sure that you have to update that particular ETag field. If you are not doing that one, you are doing some unmanaged thing and you are doing some changes in unmanaged thing, then you have to make sure that that you are changing the timestamp each time if you are doing some changes. But most of the time the framework will take care that particular ETag field automatically in managed scenario. Unmanaged scenario, you have to take care your own coding for the ETag field. And other thing which I have missed, that there is something called the ETag master and ETag dependent. Most of the time ETag master means this particular root entity we will give the most of the time the ETag master. In that particular, we will tell root entity or parent entity. Parent entities only we can give, not the child entity as a ETag master. ETag master, we are telling that this particular entity have their own ETag field and they will handle their own self. So in this case, for example, we will give the ETag field in the travel scenario, will give the last change date. In that case, their own have that particular ETag field. But some of the scenario, we will give the parent field as a ETag field. Even their entity, that particular CDS entity, that don't have their own ETag field, but instead of using their own ETag field, they will use the parent entity one field as a ETag field which parent entity is using. In that way they will make the concurrency control, optimistic concurrency control. For example, ETag with travel ID we have given, for example, as a ETag field, and that child entity also travel ID, no, not travel ID, sorry, last change 8 field, because there should be timestamp field, and that should be compatible with this particular data type. That is the reason I have written the data type must be compatible with this particular field, then only we can give as a ETag field. So that, for example, last change 8 field we are giving as a ETag for our root entity. So we have given root entity, whenever it's changing it is updating, but in the child entity I have given ETag dependent. We can give ETag dependent is a syntax. In that case it will use an ETag dependent, then we have to use the on which entity it is dependent, we have to give this travel entity ETag dependent underscore travel. In that way we can give that this particular booking entity that don't have own ETag field, but it is dependent on the parent of this particular travel entity. As a parent is there, that parent entity have ETag field, that is the use for this particular also the ETag field. In parent, what is the ETag field? The last change of the parent. But in this case we will not use the ETag dependent in this case, because we have the last change 8 for each and every table. We have created that particular field. For each table we will create different ETag fields, but some of the scenario we will create the ETag dependent also, we can create if it is required. So this is all about the basics about the ETags and the concurrency control. But if you want to go to in detail in our data series, I have explained in depth that particular concurrency control. Now let's jump into the system. We will create this particular one field, we will give this particular annotation, and we will create one ETag field. And one more thing I have missed, in the projection view we have to give that we are using the ETag, use ETag as a syntax. Some, for example, in one projection view, if you want to use ETag or not, which is defined in your base entity. In some application which created on your base BO, some application want to use ETag, some application don't want to use. We can define based on our requirement. If you want to use, you have to use ETag word in the projection view. Something I missed? I don't think so, nothing missed, but still if you want to see in the detail, as I told you, I will give you the video link in the I button, also in the description also, you can watch it out, that particular video. Let's jump into the system and do the things whatever we have discussed. First we have to define for each CDS entity which we have created one ETag field. In this case I have created this particular yi underscore travel takem. Let me open this one, and I have to tell the CDS entity this particular field will be used for the ETag purpose. I have already written this particular field will be used as a ETag field, but to tell that system I have to use one annotation @semantic dot system date control space, you can say system date time dot control space local last change date equal to true. Whenever we give this particular annotation, then this particular field will be used as a ETag. Control F3, but we have to define this particular field is a ETag in our behavior definition. To do that, let me go to my behavior definition and let me uncomment this line, control shift greater than, and I have to define one field as a ETag. I can do control space, and so in this case last change 8 is a ETag field. Shift F1, oh no, shift F1, otherwise it will change the formatting. Control Z, and let me do control F3, and in this case I will be using this particular last change field as a ETag. As of now I have defined the ETag master for my root entity. Same way what we can do, we can define the ETag for our child entity as well. As of now, we have defined the ETag for our parent entity. To define the ETag for the child entity, same thing what we will do, we'll do control shift greater than, and there is two way. Either you can use the ETag field, separate ETag field for this particular booking entity from the booking table, booking CDS entity itself, or you can use the parent entity's ETag field of the as a ETag field. So both way I can show you, but we will use the same booking entity ETag field separately. You have to use, for example, if you want to use the ETag field of your parent entity as a ETag of this particular entity, then you have to use ETag dependent by, and you have to use the association name as a Trevor. But in this case, you are getting one error is like that the dependent entity cannot have the identical named field last change date is the ETag master field. But in this case, what it is happening, because I have created the separate ETag field last change date is the same name as my parent entity. In this case, I can't use this particular ETag. Either I have to comment this particular field in my CDS entity and here as well, then only I can use as a ETag dependent by. ETag dependent by, then only I can use. And second thing, one more thing, I can use ETag dependent by only for the child case. I can't use ETag dependent by for the parents. I told wrongly. For ETag master we can use for each and any entity, but for ETag dependent by you can use only for the child entities, and that they should have any parent. But in this case, I don't want to use, I will use ETag master only. Control space, I can do ETag master. And what is the ETag master field? I can give last change date as a ETag master field. Let me do control F2 to check the code. Now this is correct. But before that, I have to define this particular field as a ETag, which I have to do in the while, not in the table, I have to do in the my entity. So same way we have to define this last change date field as a ETag field. We did for this one, control C, and we'll do for this as well, control V. Shift F1, control Z, control F3. I don't want to change the formatting, that is the reason I'm avoiding the shift F1. Okay, so you can see I have defined this particular field for the booking as well as a ETag field, and in the booking entity, let me go to my here, and here as well I told this particular field I am using as a ETag field. In same way I will do for the booking supplement as well. In booking supplement also I have last change date field, but I have to annotate that field also is a ETag field. Let me copy this same syntax here, control C, last change date field is a ETag field, control F3. Okay, I have defined the ETag field for each and every CDS entity of each and every entity of that particular behavior definition. As I told you, you can define in parent only, and you can dependent by dependent by parent in your child entity. Like that also you can do. In this case, I have defined for each particular entity their own ETag fields on their own field as a ETag field as a last change date. We have defined the ETag field in our each and every entity. Did it work in the application? No, it will not work, because in the projection view we didn't use this particular ETag field. As I told you, in the projection view we have to mandatorily give use ETag as a syntax in the behavior characteristic, then only it will use this particular ETag as a ETag. But before doing in the projection view, what we will do, we will see the application, that there's something ETag, without ETag how our application is working. So let me go to my application, we already have, let me click on go button and better refresh the application. So we will be having the latest data, and click on go button, and click on our entry which we have created. So 5002 we have created, and try to edit it. Before doing edit, ETag field, where you can see, if you watch that video OData series, you have to go to inspect. I recommend you to watch to understand the ETag concept, and you have to go to network tab, and let me go to the edit mode, and we have to see the $batch request. Again, if you don't know what is $batch request, in the same series we have the $batch also. I have explained somewhere here. You can see $batch using Fiori app OData. This you can watch out. There I have explained the $batch concept. That is also very important to understand here this applications. So I click on edit button. This is again OData. I don't want to repeat the same concept, and let me change the description. RAM Technomaniac I can write, tech or can write, and as soon as I click on save button, like before clicking on edit, $batch happen. After click saving, $batch happen. Let me click on the $batch, latest $batch. If you come here in the $batch, I always, the post method will be executed, and we will send our request in form of the payload, as I explained in my OData series. And you can see for the ETag, we will send something called the it has well, if has, if match, and if none match. You can see there is no if match we can see here. We can't see if match and our ETag value, because we didn't define anything till now. But let's define the ETag value and see again the same payload. You just make sure to see that we don't have any if match value for our ETag. And one more thing, I'm not editing any field last change date in my any of the entity. I didn't create it here editable field as a last change date. It is updating by framework itself. So let me go to my application projection view and use ETag. Simply we have to use ETag in my projection view. Then we will be able to use the ETag for particular field. And let me activate it. Control F3 and refresh my application. That is very important thing. So let me refresh my application. So again you can see lot of libraries got called, and if you want to filter out only the OData calls, you can, I think you can write the OData, then you can see all the $batch calls, OData calls. First we got the metadata files, then we got the one specific travel ID, and everything we can got. I'm interested in the $batch here, but let me edit again and see. The first thing, let me see the $batch call, latest $batch call. Okay, let me close it, and you can see one more important thing in your payload. Apart from your other data, I can see the last change date. Okay, accepted. No, I can't see. I think the application didn't got refreshed. Let me close this one, or what I can, let me come back one step back and refresh this application. I have activated this one, Control F3. Let me activate one more time, and base CDS view also activated now. Control unlock, Control F3. I use the ETag value, ETag last change date, and this one also last change date. Let me go to my application again, click on go button. Let me go my latest 5002, which I can modify easily. Let me click on edit mode and click on inspect. Go to network tab. This time change the description. Anything you can change. As of now I am changing the description. Let me write Technomaniac, and let me go to network tab. I can write OData, that is also fine, and you don't write also, that is also fine. It will give all data call related OData only. Let me click on save button. There is one $batch call happen. Let me select this $batch call, and let me see the payload. Let me come little bit down. you can see this if match, which we were not able to see previously. So in the if match, we are sending the ETag value. In this ETag value, we are sending simply timestamp, and this one will be updated each time when we call the particular when we change anything. What it will do, it will, before changing, it will get the data from the database, and this particular if match value will be matched. If it is matching, then only it will update, otherwise it will give error that somebody else already updated. That thing I have explained in detail in my OData series video. Again, I am telling, if you are not understanding what is this $batch call happen, why we are using the post method, and in the post $match always we use the post method, and we will send the request in form of the payload, which we are sending like that. You can see we are doing the what operation we want to do, those all things, all the information we are giving in form of ETag value, in form of we pass if match. You don't understand the $batch and ETag, I recommend you to watch this series. I can see, you can see $batch video also have explained, and ETag video also. $batch is the 12th part and ETag is the 22 part. Both the video you can watch if you are not understanding what is the what I am explaining here. To visualize how ETag is working, let me open this particular application in the two tabs. So I opened already in one tab. Let me go there and preview one more time. In first tab, let me open my same travel instance and click on edit button, and in the second tab also, let me open the same travel instance and go to edit mode. Both have same data. You can see test travel RAM Technomaniac, and you can see here test travel RAM Technomaniac. Now user 1 is editing to like this, user 1, and user 2 editing like to user 2. Now user 1 save his data. User 2 don't know, somebody did some changes in the system. This data is not the latest. If I am not using the ETag, it will save if I will click on the save button, but I am using here ETag. If I click on save button, I will get this error. So this is the use of ETag. Your changes are not the latest, your changes could not be saved. A more recent version is available. To make changes to the latest version, please refresh the data, then do your changes. I will click on refresh button, I will get the latest data. I will see, do I want to do changes on this particular description still, or user 1 whatever he did, it is correct. If I feel it is correct, then okay. If I feel it is not correct, I want to edit, I can click now on edit, and now I can do my changes with knowing that the user 1 did some changes. Still this is not correct, I want to do now changes as a user 2, and I click on save button. This time it will save. So this is the use of ETag. If I will go back and I will go into this particular interface view, and in this particular table, let me do F8. Let me go descending order. You can see last change 8 field got filled for this particular entity, and we have two entities. One is this one, which also I have created 1 2 3 4 5 6 before ETag, and this I have created after ETag 502. So before ETag, whatever I have created, the last change 8 is not got filled, but after applying the ETag, I created this one. Let me minimize this one and go to right side. That ETag was not updated previously, now ETag got updated, and these other entries I copied from the our demo table. Obviously there everything is updated with the time, so no need to worry about them. But these two entries I have created. The one of the above entry is not updated ETag, but this is updated ETag just now. Previously, before our update, before using the ETag, it was the time was not there. Now they have, the framework is updating the timestamp each time. So this is all about the ETag. This video again becoming longer. So in this video we have discussed about the persistent table and the optimistic concurrency control in form of the ETag. In my next video, we will discuss about the pessimistic concurrency control using the lock object and authorization. Before going to that video, please like this video, share these videos with others as well, and whatever you feel, write it down in comment section. With that, thank you and happy learning.